All right, welcome to the final challenge lab by Scalable for AZ500. This title is Enable Microsoft Defender for SQL in an Azure SQL database. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So we're all logged in to our lab environment over here. I'm going to start off by creating a SQL database. Create SQL database. We're going to use a pre-created resource group for us. We're going to call the database DB followed by a project number. And then we're going to create a new server. The server is going to be called SQL followed by the project name as well. And we want to use SQL authentication with a username of Azure admin and a very nice password. All right. The workload type, it's going to be development. And then what we want here is a standard is 0. So the way to get there is deepdives-eu based standard, and then pick DTUs. We're happy with 10, and then the data size 250 is okay for us as well. And that is a standard as 0. From a networking point of view, we want to have a public endpoint, and then we want to allow both Azure and our current IP address to allow to access this. We're not enabling Defender for SQL right now. We're going to do that later. And then we want to use sample database when we create it. All right, and that database has been deployed fairly quickly this time, actually. So let's go and take a look at it. We can use the query editor here, and we can log in with newly created user, and then we just want to run a query to check that everything is all right. So I'm going to select star from sales LT customer, and we can see we get some data from there, and there are 847 rows in that table. So next up, let's enable Defender for SQL. So we can go back to our database over here, and then under security, there is this tab called Defender for Cloud. And as we haven't enabled it for this database yet, this is pretty simple. We just have a button here to enable it. All right, that's enabled. And then what we can do is we can run a vulnerability assessment here. So currently we don't have any findings. So if we click on the bottom link, we get to the vulnerability assessment page, and then we can click scan here on the top left side. All right, so that assessment did run, and we can see that there is one vulnerability, namely that the deepdives-eu user shouldn't be used for normal service operation. So what we can do is we can click on that. And that gives us a little bit more information about this particular vulnerability. Also note that for remediation, there is no automated script for this particular vulnerability. Some of these would actually have it. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to add these results as a baseline. That means that basically we're okay with this particular vulnerability. We don't mind about this. And I can see that the status has changed so that it is in the baseline. And then we can just remove this. Now we can run another scan to see what the new status is. All right, we have a new scan created, so let's refresh. And then we can see that there are no vulnerabilities anymore, so we can see that kind of everything is healthy. And this is kind of nice that we can see all of the checks that were actually done in here. All right, next let's take a look at data discovery and classification, right? So let's go back to our database. Oops. Right, here we are in our database. And then under security, let's take a look at data discovery and classification. And basically what the thing here is that we're using currently the SQL information protection policy, which is default. And it has actually found 15 columns with classification recommendations. So let's click on that. And then here are the 15 columns found. You can see that these are personal information. Here GDPR is specifically labeled as well. We make it more viewable here. Passwords, credentials, contact information, account numbers, credit card, approval codes, and that kind of stuff. So there are classification recommendations about this. One of the things that we can do is just select all of these columns and then accept the recommendations. Now that's done. So now these columns have been labeled based on the recommendations. And now we can save this. There we go. So now our sensitive data has been labeled correctly. And that's everything we got for this lab. Thanks again for listening to me, and see you in the next course. Till then, bye.